too deep into this.
Yeah,
Well, we need to reorder.
Yeah.
I think we mostly want to keep it pretty simple and really talk about the results that we're seeing from the analysis and hopefully come to a, we have kind of a recommendation, so we want to, as far as the study team, and see whether we can get buy-off on that or whether we need to look at other, something else or whatnot. So
Why don't you go, can you go to the recommendation first, and then we can have a discussion on some of the detail after that?
I'll certainly do that.
In terms of us being efficient this morning and getting everything we need to.
So
And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to run the meeting today. I was just thinking, we've done some work with Heber City in terms of the strategy moving forward.
yeah, and I'm not sure where Jeremy's at. Also not sure if I have his cell phone number to text.
I can work on that if you want, or I can describe kind of the.
So
Why don't you just describe your recommendation,
yeah,
and then we can talk.
so we've divided the project for the corridor into 3 main segments. So the north, which is more or less from about 113 or so up to 40. We have what we're calling the west segment, which is kind of the whole Southville Road area. And then we have what we're calling the south segment, which is this area around US 40 on the south side. And so there's different options for each of the segments, and they're interchangeable with each other, generally speaking. And so the option that's chosen for the north segment is independent of the option chosen for the west and the south, because they have these common kind of connection points here that we're not projecting to change.
So are you going to make a recommendation on the alignment today, or do you have a broader recommendation to?
No, we have a recommendation on alignment.
Before you get to that, can I speak for just a couple minutes? From the perspective of working on this for a couple of years with Doug and Tony and Kendall and Mike and others that have been around for a couple, 5 or 10 years or so that we have. A couple things that I have learned in this planning study, which has been fantastic. The first thing, the traffic modeling that we've done in this particular study continues to show a need for a bypass road is what my takeaway is. Is that something that you're observing as well?
Yeah, we're getting volumes upwards of 20,000 cars a day on the bypass.
On Main Street.
On the
The study, okay.
Yeah.
The second thing I've learned is that Heber City, with a new mayor and manager, have a very clear vision of how they see Heber Main Street in the future. A vision of a destination downtown, a destination Main Street. And in the past, I don't think it's been as clear as it is now from the mayor and manager. And so I've been taking that away. Is that right from your perspective?
Absolutely.
The third thing I've learned is that the environmental considerations in the North Fields are very complex because of the wetland issue, and that we don't have sufficient budget right now to do a complete wetland delineation. And so it's difficult for us to make any recommendation in the North Fields because of the wetland issues, as well as farm considerations, private property considerations, impacts considerations. And then just the last thing that I've learned, and then a call to action that I would recommend today is that the bypass road affects 3 other important projects. The sewer farm has sewer farm potential impacts. It has impacts associated with the power corridor or the power line, and then also the airport. And so if we could coordinate those 4 themes, the bypass, the airport, the power line, and the sewer form impacts altogether, that could be an advantage to us. And so the last thing I'll just say is that the mayor and Matt and I have been working on what we call just kind of a recommendation sheet, or what we've learned through this process, and there's a call to action on it. And the call to action is that it says urgent environmental study needed to coordinate planning efforts. That talk about the traffic impacts, the environmental impacts associated with the power line, the sewer farm, and the airport related issues associated with the bypass road. So that's what I've learned going through this. And you may want to go through some individual alignment stuff, or whatever the managers and the mayor want to spend their time on today. I'll hand one of these sheets out to everyone too, but just thought it would be good to kind of hear that broader perspective from what we've been observing, that this thing continues to be complex, and that we need help at a state level, not just at a county or a city level, to get this stuff done. So that's what I think that we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. Yes.
What's that?
We need to look at, I think, there's 3 sections you talked about. Mike and I were looking at this the other day, and looking at it closer up, Mike pointed out a real problem. And I could recognize it too. You want to go to the north?
Well,
I see you got option A, you're one off of there.
Very much. Appreciate it.
the biggest challenge is anytime you do this, anytime you put a line on a map, property owners have issues, one way or another. Right there at Midway Lane, where you show a crossing on the north, you show a crossing in an individual's property that was the head of acquisitions for Williams Gas, and he is known throughout the nation as one of the foremost authorities in acquisitions and condemnations. And I know him, and he has told me if he sees a line on his property, he will sue us. And he will, and he has the means to do so.
Well,
Our previous design intentionally avoided his property.
Intentionally drew lines around his property.
It hit Midway Lane at Southfield Road instead of cutting across this piece, and then takes a dive. That's why the county bought this piece.
So it could be the angle.
Because it was having to go right through the middle of that piece.
I just point that out because we'll be blocking the lawsuit, and you won't have a place to put the bypass by the time you get out of it.
But the Supreme Court's are very clear though.
If you want to challenge him, it's all yours.
Yeah.
If in the unincorporated area, I could certainly not recommend the county do that. If the city wants to annex it and do it, he's all yours.
So where is his property?
That
whole
piece that you're
round
cutting across right there.
That whole thing?
Yep.
But it never was there until this
We didn't
latest
ever have
thing.
the road there. We cut the road across to
Come right down that line,
and went up.
Wait, where was the road? On the east of his property?
right down that white
That's
line.
where we had the road.
Yeah, that was before the environmental conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
So what happens with the park then here
We
on
just barely clip the
We
park.
It's-
clipped the corner.
Yeah.
You
We
want
own
to
the
bring it
park.
further in?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we intentionally designed the road to go on an angle that way to avoid that individual's property, not just because of the individual's personality, but because we're trying to avoid as many farms
look at this map.
as possible.
That map shows that wide swing. It doesn't have these 2 internal ones that now have come out.
Let me complicate the issue. Building the high school, right here, where that shallower terms come into play. And they're probably conflicting with that.
Are they working with that property owner?
Yes.
You're talking about on this
Yes.
area right here?
Yep.
How many acres is that?
They're looking at buying 50 to 60 acres.
Because I thought they needed 40 at least for up
It's
this.
going over 60, but it'll probably 50.
And so, are you saying the county owns this whole parcel here?
We do.
Yeah.
We bought that corner one because of the cutting right across it. And then we bought this other one earlier.
Because we had always seen, I guess something was platted at some point, because we've seen a road.
It's hard there. Is that, no, that's something that the county acquired about 5 years ago.
Well, the corner piece 5 years ago, the other piece we've had for longer, 15 years.
Yeah.
So So
Okay,
I think
maybe I was thinking of this one down here. So the idea then would be that
yeah.
we somehow are coming in diagonal.
The city's obtained,
Up at Midway Lane.
Right, I know, but
the city has right of way across that next piece.
I feel like we're fixed at this point here though, right?
Yeah.
And so we basically want to get from this point
Yeah.
up to this point in some fashion.
And the criteria we had, that was one of them. The other was to try and keep the road at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's our design speed. But I think what we ask ourselves is how best to use this time this morning. I don't think it's going to be best used by trying to help you design something on a computer screen above our heads.
Well, I do wonder how would access work if the Southfield intersection goes away here?
But I think these larger issues at
You
play.
mean the north end?
Yeah, here.
Well, as we've talked about over the years, we didn't want a major intersection there. We wanted a quick off to go to Midway,
Yeah, we have a kind of
and
a half intersection.
the intent was to have an on-ramp down Southfield and hit on to go north. Isn't that what we basically thought? We didn't want a full exchange interchange there.
Independent of what you have there, how do you get access to the park? If,
From Heber City internally.
I mean, Midway Lane access, and then we have
but there wouldn't be that.
Southfield.
Well, would it be over on this side? Because if this intersection goes away and you can no longer.
It's a half intersection, is what we designed initially. But obviously, all these complexities associated, and then you take the wetlands into account, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that seems like that's going to be a major challenge in general in the environmental.
It is.
Because it looks like this property is not nearly as wet as this property.
Right.
And so the Army Corps of Engineers, I doubt, cares about who owns that property and how litigious they are.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just
they're
your
not
local
maintaining the
governments.
property, they're just,
The local
But they're the
governments.
ones that are telling us we can build a road.
But he won't let anybody on the property. Heber Light Power tried to get on the property, and he would not let them on the property. He was given notice that no one can trespass on his property, and he will not.
What does he think he's gonna do with that?
That's all he wants to do.
And we respect that, we're not trying to override that in any way. We're just saying that the complexity of this design of this road is at the environmental impact statement level because of all these unknowns that we have with the wetlands in particular. And so why try to design something right now when really, I think what my recommendation would be to the group is to pause this planning effort, take the information that we've learned, which I just cited, those three things. Heber's downtown vision, the wetlands are complex, the traffic model still justifies the bypass. Take that information that we've learned, move into an environmental impact study is what I would recommend to the local governments at this point. Since I work for the mayors and county commissioners, county council members, that's how I would recommend a path forward rather than us trying to figure out a design that we still don't have enough information on to do yet.
I'm comfortable with that on the north and the west segments. I'm not sure that I agree with that on the south, where there's much more development pressure.
Yeah.
And waiting another 2 or 3 years probably is not feasible before coming up with a recommendation.
I think I agree with what you're saying on South End.
you've got to tie that, if you're going straight through there, that's got to be tied down.
Totally. I think that if we could come to an agreement on that, on the south end, I totally agree. I think we got to start moving in that direction. Recognizing that there's some impacts to the sewer farm that need to be resolved with more deliberate discussions with them, maybe through an environmental impact statement process. But if we could get a statement of policy from this group that we like, what we're showing some of the alignment issue, I think that would be good progress.
I would offer one caveat in that whatever we decide, I think it's really important that we communicate with the citizenry who've been involved in this process so that they know why we're pausing, so they're not guessing as to what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we have to pause. This would be my recommendation to you guys. You guys are the decision makers. You have to make that decision as to what you think is the right thing to do.
I think this is the right thing to do because that's such a wild card for the environmental. But I think if we choose to pause, we simply need to communicate very clearly to the citizenry as to why we're pausing.
What
Go back
kind
to
of
with
time
open
frame
house
is
with some
going to be?
information.
Does does
What
that
kind of
cost?
time frame did the school district give you on that
It's-
acquisition there?
It's still not public. They're in conversations now with the property owner.
It's public now.
Probably not.
Tracy
I
won't
know
go.
about it, so it's out there.
It is out there.
What is that pause due to the annexations that were proposed?
I beg your pardon?
What is that pause due to the annexations that were proposed?
Tony, if you feel differently, let me know, but this impacts that annexation quite a bit. They're trying to buy some of the property that was involved in that annexation. And
The
so,
district.
yeah, so it depends on how much property they end up buying from them as to how it will impact that annexation.
So does that would affect, if we're able to get a corridor through the property that's being annexed? If it's annexed before we get the corridor, we'll probably never get it unless we condemn.
Well, it will have the shallower corridor that's supposed to be downtown. It'll have that alignment.
Alignment C.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked with the property owner on that site for 10 years or so, that keeps changing hands. It's a big block, as you know, of property.
It's Gary Conrad, it's the property.
Is that right?
So,
And they've been trying to do something with that with the city for a number of years.
I just have a question about those two alignments. So, okay, we know we have to do the environmental study, but is there anything about those two alignments, like, I mean, like, is it gonna be one or the other? Or it could be something in the middle of those? I'm just saying we at least maybe tentatively be, especially for the high school, we can't have a likely route and plan a high school in the middle of it.
Well, and you've taken A off of there now, you know, the further one out, which I guess everybody's saying, no, that'll never happen because of environmental.
Yeah, so these are the two.
I'm not sure of the wetlands or what they are on the maps now.
I think to answer the mayor's question, my response would be that we don't have enough information right now to select one of those alignments over the other because of the complexity of the wetlands.
Right, but
Which
I'm
is
just
what-
saying, where's that high school? Can you show me where that's supposed to be?
Yeah, you got this immediate need of high school.
Does it go up across the stream road?
Wherever 50 acres is in there.
I mean, could it be pushed down? I mean, it seems to
The
me,
land they're going to buy is, I believe, 25 mile correctly, right here.
but it crosses over that. Like, to me, it seems insane that the most likely route is the closest to the city. And Terry Newell told me this a couple months ago. And then to say the high school's going to go ahead and purchase property and it's going to,
This is that sense of urgency that we need to communicate to our legislators, that this cannot wait.
we can add high school onto this now.
Yeah, I just did. I added that on my list.
Well, if it's wetlands too, how can they build a high school on it?
It appears that we are missing a lot of
Other
wetlands in that
pool.
area.
Yeah.
Well, they would have to.
I mean,
do it delineation.
how do they think they can build a high school there if there's wetlands
It appears
issues?
There's enough dry area.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're actually
Still
taking
have
the
to
dry
go
area.
study it.
Are they assuming access on the bypass? No.
No, but the bypass is going to be a critical corridor to get to the high school.
From the
Without
Shrine area
access?
to Midway Lane to get.
Rather than bring it to the downtown, they come through on the bypass.
Makes sense.
Okay, but don't they have to get the environmental study? But yeah, we're already thinking this area's going to be okay. So now here we are. I don't know, you guys give me anything.
No, Mayor, your perception is right, and it's frustrating, I think, for a lot of us that for the past 10 years, we've been asking for help from the Department of Transportation to conduct an environmental impact statement on this alignment so we can have surety on the alignment issue while we face this and every issue that we go through every year with either Heber City or Wasatch County annexations or approval requests. And we end up in this room working on the alignment issues without much certainty as to what the alignment's going to be.
Agreed.
So your frustration is well placed.
That being said, we keep failing eventually to go all the way through Northfields.
So let me
Because
ask
they'll
a
pull
question
off out of
about
the
the
intersection.
delineation.
Wetland delineation.
We were anticipating that UDOT would do that and would pay for it.
We had a scope of work in this study, Ivan, that hired an environmental firm called BioWest. Andrea Moser was the person assigned. She's an excellent environmental specialist. We all know her. She works on very complex projects. She took her scope of work was funded at a level that basically let her look at the existing delineations and the National Wetland Inventory, which is a national database, but it did not let her get into the details of the wetlands. A complete wetland delineation is what we need, and it's what a typical environmental impact statement would go through. And so we need additional funding via an EIS or an environmental document to look at that additional detail in the wetlands, I believe. Does that sound right from you guys'
And I've
perspective?
talked to Sean about how, to what extent they can establish a historical, so you can predict, okay, it's there now, but it's not as much as it was 5 years ago, and what direction is that going? So is this drying up like we perceive it probably is?
So is that something, I know on the south end, several years ago, Heber City asked us to use some of the corridor preservation fees to do the study on the hub intersection and the Walmart interchange, which we did. We do have that money. The county has an ongoing payment coming in, but if we diverted some of that money to pay for the delineation, could we do that to try and speed this process up?
I think we could do that. But then it also involves the geometry of the roadway and other elements that need to be designed with it. I like what you're saying. We are a partner with DOT, but we need DOT more fully engaged in the development of this roadway project, because it's anticipated that this roadway project will be a major roadway in the area, and that it most likely will become a UDOT facility in the future. I like what you're saying, be a partner with them.
All I'm saying is we have money we could divert from paying the county back.
But it's a lot of money, it's not like 2 plus million.
What do we get?
For a full environmental study, probably 2 million.
Yeah, we don't have that much.
But to do the wetland component of it, it's much less than that.
Well, what if we go to Terry and try to make our case? And
Yeah.
say, you gotta get this on your list, and then we go to
Yeah.
other legislators to
Yes.
start pushing it, because I just don't think they understand the potential.
I wish they were at this table hearing this type of news and these type of discussions, and I think it's our job to take the information to them.
I have a meeting with Rob and Terry this afternoon and plan to take this information to Rob's staff meeting tomorrow morning. So,
Can I just say one thing? Over in Park City, I was in a transportation meeting over there, and they wanted a transportation study done on 248. And Park City came up with some of that money, and they got bumped up on the list at UDOT because they brought money to the table.
Yeah.
And so I think you guys are on the right track to think of how can we fast forward this process.
I like that. I'll make a
I don't know that
comment.
it's that much money for UDOT, though. It's just we don't meet their criteria to be at the top.
But maybe if we throw a little in, it makes it more.
Yeah, palatable.
How much do you think is reasonable?
I'll tell you, you guys have already thrown in millions
Buying
Yeah.
of dollars in right-of-way, and you've done your job with the tools that the state legislature has given you, which is local corridor preservation funds. You enacted the fee, your council did, which is a brave move of any political body to enact a tax. You're using that tax responsibly by picking up willing seller, willing buyer parcels through what we anticipated would be the corridor. Wasatch County and Heber City, you've done your portion and more. And I think it's just our job to communicate that, and we're willing to continue our partnership with you. But I don't think you have to provide for the needs of the entire state of Utah, provide for all the traffic that's coming from the Uinta Basin through to Salt Lake City via Heber's Main Street. This is a larger, more regional facility by its nature. And the complexities are apparent, with all the oil and gas movement that's taking place, interstate commerce that's coming through here. And I think we have a great argument that the state should be participating in this more actively than they have been in the past.
Yes. We just need to get to the right people.
I think they'll be receptive to it. I'm coming off negative, but I'm trying to explain how urgent this material is, because we get presented with these type of development proposals on a regular basis. We are playing defense, and it's not a fun game to play.
And I'm not trying to defend UDOT, but I do know that they've got a lot of pressures in other places. So they're kind of a ping pong ball.
Well, speaking with grease, right? You gotta make sure that I'm really getting some grease on it,
I feel bad for losing Kevin. Senate. Because he would ran runs. I don't know who's going to get him back on transportation that way, but that's, I mean, Ron would help us, for sure, but he's not going to have a position like that. It's a question.
I think we need to take our story to multiple levels, just like the mayor was suggesting. Take it to the administration that works for the governor through UDOT, and take it to our legislators that fund this work to the governor. They fund this type of work. And then I think we also probably need to do our own lobbying and special outreach that we can do with our own resources that we have.
So Sean, I agree. So let me suggest also for quick consideration that before we meet here today, we've got a team put together that's going to go right after that.
Yeah, I agree.
But we could still work on the southern and the western portions in the meantime. I mean, like you said, I agree that southern part needs to get etched in stone at this point.
We've got enough information to do that. I was saying that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't going to make a recommendation on the north side because we acknowledged that there are too many unknowns with the
So is it
west.
still being considered that this will be the alternate 40, or is this the bypass? The alternate 40?
Yes.
I really like that idea.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That's how we kind of evolved over the past couple of months, Mike, is that Heber City's really embraced the idea that Heber City's Main Street.
I just think that was a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, all of the stuff this study's done for downtown is for naught if this doesn't happen.
Precisely.
We have some gorgeous cross sections of how Main Street could be. We have the concept of having outdoor dining areas on the sidewalks on Heber Main Street, just like you would see in Park City. Tree plantings, medians, that type of thing, where people want to be on Main Street in downtown. And so that idea of changing the character of downtown, having 40 wrap around Heber Main Street, we've gotten conceptual approval from UDOT and from the Federal Highway Administration. Terry's been an advocate for us on that, has been working hard on that piece of it. So it's all coming together good.
So the recommendations we would have for the west and the south are what we're showing here. And really, one of the big keys to this is the recommendation that 189 basically go away, and that all of 189 traffic be routed onto the parkway and around. That provides significant traffic benefits here to allow this configuration to work. Really, in every configuration it works better if we don't have a bunch of traffic coming on another approach. So far, that has not proven to be controversial with anybody yet, but we've got a few new people here. So I'm sure it's very controversial for these people that live, it will be more or less, I don't know, doubling or whatever the amount of traffic that would be on that road behind them. We've heard received extensive comments from these people here. So that's one of the kind of the key assumptions into making this south option work.